What's going on, my good people? Mike Hidalgo here. Thank you for joining me on another FCP Euro DIY. Today we are working on a 2018 Volvo XC90. Today on the XC90, we are going to be covering how to service your Haldex system. This is a kit available on fcpo.com, which includes the genuine Volvo fluid, a new fill plug, some O-rings, some hardware for the pump, and some brake clean for us to keep our job clean throughout the DIY. We recommend you do this service about every 50,000 miles, and it would be good practice to do it every time you do your rear differential. We just did those on a separate DIY on this car, so Haldex is what's left. This is very important as the Haldex system is responsible for keeping the all-wheel drive system intact. So if you're buying a Volvo for the safety and the practicality and the all-wheel drive side of it, this is something you definitely don't want to neglect. One thing worth mentioning, depending on the age of your vehicle and the mileage, you may want to consider extra fluid if your system is contaminated. We have seen Haldex systems in the past, even on lower mileage cars that are super contaminated and dirty with material. A fine example was our Volkswagen Atlas. With 50,000 miles, we ended up going through 2 balls of fluid just to flush it out. So really no way to tell beforehand, but just something to keep in mind if it's your first time doing it on your vehicle and it may have higher mileage or you don't know what its history is. But before we get too into it though, let's take a look at some of the tools we're gonna need for this DIY. For this DIY, we have a tiny stubby flathead screwdriver. You can sub that out with even a coin possibly if you're very ambidextrous. That's gonna be for our fill plug. We have a small pick, a T10, a 3-inch, 1/4-inch extension, a 10mm socket, a deep one, a 1/4-inch ratchet, CTA 7073. This is going to be our syringe pump for filling our Haldex system back up. You're also going to need a catch pan and some shop towels as well. You'll already note that the brake clean is part of the kit, but if you're not buying the full kit off of FCP Euro, I don't know what you're doing. Make sure to get yourself some brake clean. Now with that, let's go ahead and get started. Now that we're under the Volvo, here is our Haldex 5 system here. If you've seen our P3 chassis DIY on this, you'll see that it's basically the same system, just a little bit maybe easier to get to than on the P3. We have our pump here. The first thing we're going to do is disconnect the pump. That's going to be this electrical connector here towards the rear. Release tab up top, press that in, and then undo the plug. Sometimes you need the help of a little pick tool to release these connectors. If they've never been out before or there's a lot of dirt and sand on them, just what happens over time. I'm gonna get the friend of a pick and get this baby unplugged here. There we go. That's gonna come down with our pump. Now before we pull the pump, let's get to the fill plug. And that's here on the side of the casing on the plastic housing of the Haldex system. You can see the little plastic plug up there. Again, something like a small coin might work, but it's a little bit tight, which is why we're going with this stubby flathead screwdriver. I'm going to reach up in there for a moment, block the light, and then we'll pull the plug out. So if we can't pull this plug out for any reason, then there's no point in continuing since we won't be able to fill the system. Catch pan is situated below in case there's any fluid that comes out, which is very possible. And in that case, we are good. Now, let's go ahead and take care of the 2 10mm bolts that secure our pump and to the housing, which are also going to cause all our fluid to drain. 10mm at the bottom. Crack that baby free. We're going to toss this bolt. We have new hardware that comes with our pump. Other 10 up top. With that free, now we're going to work the pump off. We have our catch pan situated and we're going to let the fluid drain. Breaking the seal on this might be a little bit tough if it's never been out before. Just going to wiggle it back and forth. A little flathead here. This isn't a sealing surface. I'm just being very gentle, trying to help it work out a little bit. Oh yeah, we have a lot of galvanic corrosion. This is actually the first time I see this on a Haldex pump. Let me know in the comments if you've seen this before. But we have a ton of corrosion happening there, which is why that pump is so seized onto our housing. Typically that's not a problem I've seen, at least not on any of our cars, but I guess goes to show that it can happen. At initial glance, our screen Looks dirty, but it's not super contaminated. We've seen worse. We're gonna pop these two O-rings off, get the two T10s off, clear out the screen, wipe down the pump really well. While that drains, then we'll be ready to rock for install. All right, we have our pump. Still losing out some fluid. Small pick tool. I'm gonna pick the two old O-rings out. T10 to zap out those two little filter basket bolts. All right, with that off, we're gonna pull the screen off, and then we're gonna brake clean this in the trash bin, make sure there's no debris on it. We'll wipe down the pump. We don't wanna spray any brake clean inside of the pump, but we just wanna clean it up nicely, and then we'll put it back together. You can see I'm spraying not at the face of the pump, just at its body. All around, getting all that old nasty fluid off of it. Screen can go back on, can only go on one way. Cover up that little sad face. Two T10s. Just going finger tight initially, another 1/8 of a turn, and we're snug. Let's get our new O-rings on there. Make sure you lube these up a little bit, either with the same Haldex fluid and or a little bit of dielectric grease. First O-ring on the first groove is going to make it easier to slide the second O-ring over onto the second groove. All right. Our pump is good to rock. At this point, let's head back over to the car. Let's clean out the housing where it's gonna live, make sure there's no debris or material left behind in there, and then we'll slide this baby on. We're gonna give our housing a little bit of a wipe down, get some of that old fluid and material out. Again, if ours was super contaminated and dirty, or the screen on the pump was super clogged up, we'd probably flush it by leaving this open and filling the fluid up here and just running some fluid through it. And or doing an earlier interval service than the 50,000 miles. But this one's in good shape, so we're gonna run with it. All right, let's get our pump over and we'll get those two 10 mil secured. All right, we are coming in hot. Give the pump a little bit of a wiggle as you get it situated, and make sure it's in front of the bearing on the drive shaft, the harnesses, so you don't get it stuck. Let's get the new two 10mm bolts in. If you're going to be running a torque wrench on this, no more than 10 Newton meters for these two 10mm bolts. Snug. Let's plug in our electrical connector. All right, we're going to grab our syringe and we're going to start filling our Haldex system. We're going to fill until it starts to pour out. Once it gets to a little slow dribble, then we'll call it good. And we'll throw in our new plastic plug. All right, we're just going to continue to do that until we have fluid running out of the fill hole. All right, we're going to go in with our new plug. That was pretty quick. First, we're just going to get it up in there and get it into place. I'm actually seeing that that takes a T30 as well, so we're going to give that a try. My fingers are too slippery and too covered in oil to be able to use a little flathead. But if we can get this T30, oh yeah, and there we go. That was the trick. You'll see there's a little stop on the plug. Once you get that stop lined up, you are good to go. And we have just serviced your Haldex system. That's going to be the end for this DIY, my good people. A really straightforward and easy job on the XC90. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments on what we did today, leave those in the comment section below. And if you like this DIY and you'd like to see more like them, please consider subscribing. We make new ones all the time. As always, thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.